Hey everybody, welcome back to the Purple Rock Podcast. In case you missed it, we actually did a podcast about this upcoming season. We fan-casted this season with previous Survivor players, Brains, Brawn, and Beauty. And if you haven't heard that already, check it out, because I have to say that might have been the best podcast we've ever done. Andy, would you agree with that?
It's close. I think there's probably one thing that holds it back from reaching that vaulted status, and
Emma's appearance?
It comes in the form of a dolphin trainer, let's just say.
Oh, I was thinking you just meant Emma in general being there.
Well, in the sense that we brought her on, she had one job. Pick us a hot man so it doesn't just sound like we're silly. And she picks that guy.
By the way, pick us a hot man, that's the tagline for this episode.
We'll be looking to get a theme song. Pick us a hot man.
I'm going to loop that into a drop right for the beginning of this episode. So anyway, like I said, if you haven't heard that one yet, go ahead and check it out. It's, I have to say, pretty good, not to toot our own horn. But since then, as Andy mentioned, we made two minor changes, at least I did. We replaced Emma's terrible pick of Ian from the Beauty Tribe, and we put Brendan on there instead from Token Teens.
And to her credit, she was asking us to do that before we'd even stopped recording. She was like, "Can I just change my pick?" But we wanted to embarrass her some more and make her live with her choice, so we didn't let her. But now, in retrospect, absolutely.
Right, and I was a little bit tipsy at the time, so I might have been, slightly belligerent drunk to her.
You were looking to fight. You came to fight and chew bubblegum. At that point, you were out of bubblegum.
Exactly. So we also replaced Sophie with Eliza. That was an executive decision because Sophie ended up being my pick at that point, and you guys seemed cool enough with Eliza. And my rationale was, in Eliza's seasons, there's always some kind of great moment that happens. So at the very least, I figure if you put Eliza on a season, production is going to rig it somehow so that she gets onto the jury. And once she's on the jury, that's a good season.
So it's like she's like the glue guy of the Survivor seasons? Just, the person you need that's not a star that will help bring it all together?
She is the Shane Battier of Survivor.
Hey, we can make basketball references all season now.
We really can, because Uncle Cliffy is on this season, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Can and will. I guess, Sophie ended up being the only winner on our fake season, so that might be a little unfair to a winner. You generally want to pack at least more than one, or none at all. So, sure, let's have Eliza.
Yeah, we'll send Sophie packing. I think she's got a million reasons that she'd be okay with that.
Yeah, and also the medical school and all that.
Oh yeah, that too. But also, in Survivor Land recently, there has been the Mr. and Miss Survivor competitions going on. Rob has a website. Everybody's been voting. Everybody, meaning diehard Survivor fans.
Let's be clear, we're not doing our own competition. We did the same thing as I did last time, but we're not going to copy them this time.
Yeah, and coincidentally, we are recording our season preview on the same night that Rob is, but again, total coincidence.
You know what? At least that means we haven't listened to him, and we're not just going to rehash all of his ideas.
Right. Although I will say, looking back at our picks, it does seem like you might have listened to his podcast before you made your picks, because all of your Brains, Beauty, and Brawn tribe seem to be coming from the same people that he picked.
Not all of them, but yeah, absolutely there was a little bit of carryover, and you want to know why? Because I'm the one guy that isn't trying so hard to be obscure that I pick garbage like Ian, or Courtney Moon, or something. You guys were letting me down, and all of a sudden it's like, fine, James.
By the way, I think Courtney might have blocked us on Twitter. I have no idea why. I guess she's really offended that I called her attractive. Whatever.
The power of this podcast, I suppose. How dare we suggest they bring her back? Maybe it was not you. It could have been me.
Maybe it was. Maybe you offended her.
In the sense that you're not bringing her back, and I vetoed it.
So anyway, as I mentioned, Beauty. Miss Survivor is going on, and the top three, which is what they determine the finalists from, you do votes on one of these three ladies, Andrea, Brenda, and Sierra. So count me among team no thanks, because none of those women have any sort of personality for me.
I think Brenda absolutely has no personality. She had two attempts to show us that. The first one, she was around. She was strategic, kind of, but mostly she was like this blank slate. and then the next time she was a ghost. So yeah, but she's pretty. I guess there's that. But no, I think, like Andrea. Andrea has personality. She's been good on his show before. She was one of the better parts of the last season. So I have no problem there. And then, of course, obviously, I'm a big Sierra backer. So,
well, here's my controversial opinion. The next 3 in order on his website, the next 3 highest vote getters, were Candace, Katie, and Corinne. And I would take that 3 over the 3 that actually made it.
Yeah, see, obviously I've been on Team Sierra, and I was also on Team Andrea. She was my pick in the first Survivor pool we ever did, so I disagree with you there. Also, I've just never been on the Corinne bandwagon. There's just something about her brand of genius, I will say, that just seems kind of planned. Like, you know, we've seen Jerry, and you're no Jerry, Corinne. Quit trying to be Jerry.
At the very least, I think Corinne is clever. Like that.
That's true, but I've never been a fan.
Also, she is much better at Twitter than any of those other 3.
Not a hard competition, I will grant you that.
It's a low bar, but she definitely leaps over it.
Katie, though, yeah, I would leave her. I would put her in there for sure. I didn't in the sense that I forgot to vote for her, but yeah, she works out. She seems like fun.
Okay, so there's also a Mr. Survivor competition, and it is on the internet, so you can take a guess as to who should and will win this.
Tyson? Did you vote Tyson 3 times?
First of all, yes. Second of all, that's not who's going to win this, though.
No, of course not.
Again,
it's going to be Malcolm, and sure.
There you go.
I'll listen to a podcast with Malcolm on it.
Well, yeah, but I think the whole Mr. Survivor thing, generally, I would assume, just like Miss Survivor has at least some degree to do with looks, Mr. Survivor probably does too. So let's just say we're aware that Malcolm has a certain fan base on the internet, and there is no doubt he's going to win.
Malcolm has a certain fan base all over. He transcends boundaries because, yeah, I'm guessing the Survivor fan that isn't on the internet is a big fan of Malcolm, and the ratings seem to bear that out. So had they released like a top 3 for Mr. Survivor yet?
They did, and I believe it was Malcolm, Tyson, and somebody else that's not going to win.
Ours?
I have no idea.
All right.
I seriously didn't even bother. Sorry, ladies, but I'm not all that into listening to a list of hot guys, as I proved last week when we did our fan casting of Brain Fronds and Beauty.
Yeah, they're no Brian Heidick. We'll give him that.
But anyway, let's get to this season, because I think we're about 8 minutes in so far, and we still haven't even mentioned the current season.
Yeah, so we're done talking about hypothetical brains versus brawn versus beauty, and we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, the actual season that's before us. So this is our season preview, and it should be fun, because it's the first one we've ever done where we basically know nothing about these people.
Yeah, I kind of like that, though. I mean, a bunch of Survivor fans have been clamoring for a all-newbies season for a while, and we finally got it. Not that really the last few seasons that were returnee players turned out pretty well.
Yeah, everybody's clamoring. It's like, I want the purity of One World in Nicaragua.
Yeah, and I might be alone in this, but I don't think One World was that bad. I mean, it was a super dominant performance by Kim, but I didn't think it was that terrible. Nicaragua, however, was the absolute nadir of this show.
Yeah, no, I don't hate on One World whatsoever because it gave us the glory that is Kim, but I wouldn't rank it as one of the best seasons. Certainly the show has been on a roll since then, from Philippines to Caramoan to Blood vs. Water. Those are 3 great seasons. In fact, if I look back, it might be the best 3-season stretch in the show. But I'm just pulling that out of my butt, so maybe that's not true. But
yeah, we absolutely did not research that in any way, much like most things we say on this podcast, actually.
So here's hoping this season can kind of continue that trend, and obviously they're doing it on the backs of the gimmick that gives it its name. What do you think about that?
We've kind of touched on this before, but it's a good one. I mean, it's at least an interesting gimmick. I don't know. It's always going to come down to how well it's cast, and that's the next thing we're going to discuss, but at the very least, it's an interesting gimmick, and I do think people are going to start to conform to the stereotypes of the tribes that they're put into.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because from what I gather from something Dalton Ross wrote, they didn't cast for this gimmick. They were already well into the casting process, either having picked everybody or at least picked most of the cast, when I think Lynn Spielman's her name or whatever, the head of casting, just kind of looked at their list and was like, hey, we could sort it like this. So the Brains versus Brawn versus Beauty came after them already having picked some people, which I think could be encouraging. Like, my big worry when you hear something like this is they're just going to cast a bunch of one-dimensional people, and that could be terrible.
Yeah, I think that's why Lynn never gave me the callback for this, is that I was just too three-dimensional.
That's right. But, yeah, hopefully this means that, there'll be some brains that are also strong, and it looks like there already is some. And some of the beauties won't necessarily be stupid. Although I'm sure some of them really will. But to your point, once they kind of get divided that way, yeah, I think they will start to live up to it. And it's much in the same way that, the heroes really bought into that concept in Heroes versus Villains.
One hero in particular.
I'd say there'd be a couple. Obviously, Rupert was all in, but I think James used that as his guiding principle. Colby probably ate it all up. So there was a lot of that. And I think you'll see that, like, oh, I can't believe us Brawny tribe is losing to them, or, hey, we're the cool kids, the beautiful people that want to be with us. But I will say that, like, I think as Survivor fans, it was always Brains versus Brawn for us. Like, it was never this three-way thing, but I think Survivor realized it was
phrasing.
Survivor's like, yeah, that's cool and all, but we need our hot chicks. And God bless them for that.
Yeah, that's why they work in casting, because they think about these things.
So what are your initial impressions on the tribes themselves? Like, we'll dive into each player, but...
And now that I know that, I like that bit of information you just gave us about the already cast players just were placed into tribes that they thought fit the most, because it does seem that there's a bunch of these that have some overlap.
Absolutely.
So it makes a lot of sense then, because we'll get to certain players, but there are definitely some that have skills or attributes that would be good fits in either tribe.
Yeah, and like I said, I hope that will bode well for the season, because the last time they kind of really split amongst a theme was Nicaragua. There's so many things wrong with that season, but this is another one. Is that, yeah, it was olds versus youngs, and it seemed like it was just a bunch of cranky old people and a bunch of stupid young people, and that's all they cast for, to the point where they excluded, like, people in their 30s. Like, we just had nothing to do with those people. And it was terrible. So in this sense, I think they avoided that, probably unintentionally, by hopefully casting some people that would have been good characters no matter what, and then they just found the way to fit them in. And possibly in the case of Male Beauty, didn't find that good a solution. But
You're not a big LJ fan?
You know what? I think he might be the better of the three, actually. But.
Let's have you rank the males on a scale of 1 to 10, Andy.
By hotness?
Sure. As we go through each tribe, we'll have you rank the males 1 through 10.
But anyway, let's start with the tribe. What do you think of the Brawn tribe?
I really more have thoughts about the individual players within it. I mean, I think they had to do the Survivor stunt casting thing is to get some sort of minor celebrity or athlete or some person that has fame outside of the game. So this is where you put them, and it's Uncle Cliffy this time. Cliff Robinson, the former Portland Trailblazer, long-time NBA player. And it would be hilarious to me if he's on this season and tries to convince people that he is not a former basketball player.
Yeah.
He stands about 6'10", so it would be hilarious to have him say, no, never even heard of basketball.
I get that all the time, but no, I'm just a school teacher. My kind of thought is, maybe not this tribe specifically, you kind of think of like what a Brawn tribe would do. Everybody's, would initially think that, of course, they're going to dominate physically. I'm sure the show has stuff pulled up its sleeve to ensure that that does not happen. That they are not just going to dominate in challenges. What's more interesting is how might they get along. And it feels like this is a tribe because there's not a lot of... It seems to be a little more mature a tribe that I think they're going to do fine. I think they'll probably, to kind of go with your thought, of people just start playing up to their roles and their stereotype, probably be the typical thing of the brawny dudes kicking out the less brawny women.
I think there's actually, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I kind of have a theory already. This just seems like there's a bunch of surface level pairs in this season. I don't know if you noticed that too.
I absolutely noticed it in this tribe, yeah.
Yeah.
I based an entire theory around it, yeah.
Yes, you did. There are 2 cops this season, and they happen to both be in the same tribe, which sort of makes sense given that it's the Brawn tribe. they got the, like, 2 country folk people. I think both of them are actually in the beauty tribe, too.
Yep.
You've got 2 black females, which props to Survivor for finally getting a very diverse season again. It's been a while. You got 2 guys with pro sports involvement in Cliffy and David, who I guess is somehow affiliated with the Miami Marlins.
But different
I am
tribes,
not a
so.
baseball fan.
You are
Right, yeah, they're not on the same tribe. But again, I'm not a big baseball fan, but I do know that he's working with the Marlins in some capacity. So there's a lot of these pairs, at least you would assume would be pairs at the start of the season. I kind of like that concept almost as much as the tribe division thing.
And I think the pairs, and I guess I'm jumping ahead a bit too, but it's going to be more prominent this season if what we think will happen, because we're talking about tribes of 6 to start off. And in a tribe of 6, a pairing of 2 is really powerful unless those other 4 people just band against them right away, because there's not a lot there. And we've seen that in the past. You saw it with Rob and Amber and All-Stars. You saw it with Malcolm and Denise in Philippines. So, yeah, if some of those pairings work out like we think they will, then those people can be really successful.
I'll go ahead and call it right now. The cops are going to pair up. No doubt.
I based my entire drafting strategy on that. All right, so obviously we really want to talk about the individual, so we'll just kind of go to... Do you have kind of an initial impression of... Let's save the brains. What about the beauties?
My initial impression of the beauties is, hey, did you see Morgan?
Yeah. I know, here's the other thing. The other 2 chicks are also very pretty, but oh my god, Morgan. But...
Morgan is... I'll try to...
There's no way we'll just put this disclaimer now. From now until Morgan is eliminated, which sadly will probably not be too deep into the season, we're just going to be gross when we talk about her because there's just no way around it.
Yeah, Morgan is kind of like a real-life Barbie doll. Or actually, no, she's
not
more
even,
of a,
no.
No, she's more of like a comic book superheroine where they have these impossibly proportioned females in comic books, and you're like, okay, well, that's just ridiculous. And then Morgan, I think, kind of is one of those people.
Yeah. Well, she's like, kind of like the chick from Modern Family, Sofia Vergara. She's got a body type like her.
There's nothing wrong with that body type whatsoever.
No, there really isn't. Like, there hasn't been that in Survivor. You know, so, bravo.
I'm trying to think of who even comes close.
I mean, there's probably some that were eliminated early, but even still, I can't think of any. Like, there's been some top-heavy ones, but she's more than just that. She's an angel.
She is our angel.
Yes.
Let's move on before we have to hit the beat button a whole lot.
Yeah, so I think the tribe that we really want to talk about as a tribe is the brains. When you always have talk about an idea of brains versus beauty or strategy versus physical or whatever, kind of always thought that brains would be where our loyalties would lie, because we'd like to envision if we were ever on the show, that's kind of the player we would be. We'd be strategic and all of that. Even though, nothing about my job suggests that guy's smart.
Also, we are beautiful men, so, I would accept being placed on the beauty tribe as well.
But that said, just, like, looking at this particular Brains tribe and, like, listening to their interviews and reading a bit of their summaries, I don't really like reading summaries because the questions are stupid and the answers usually are too.
Yes, they are.
I don't think I'm behind this Brains tribe. Like, I think they're already bugging me.
Oh, man. Okay, so I'll go ahead and spoil something here. I started following all these people on Twitter for us. I think, actually, you helped out with that, too. I can give some recommendations. Don't follow some of these people on Twitter. I am already totally annoyed with half of this tribe.
Yeah, I mean, like, we have to for journalistic purposes.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And
We're taking one for the team here because this is not going to be enjoyable.
Yeah, and I think it'll translate. Like, I think they're going to do terribly. Unless, like, things fall the right way. And, like, I can see them winning some immunities. These immunities are all going to have a physical element and, like, a brainy element. So, basically, it's going to be go swim out and do something and then come back and do a puzzle. Which is not unusual for most things, but they'll really emphasize that. Much in the way when they do old versus youngs, they try to find things that counterbalance the physical nature of it. And even there, it didn't work. Yeah, so they're going to do that, but I just think, like, every one of these people almost, maybe not Chatia, but it seemed like most of the other ones were all like, I'm used to being the smartest person in the room. I'm used to having my way. I'm going to try and take control. And it's just going to be a disaster socially.
Yeah, I almost feel like maybe that was intentional. Like, it's going to be fun to see the Brainiacs be completely unable to handle a social situation where they are surrounded by other quote-unquote smart people.
Yeah, and it's like, you worry that the show is just going to be like, you like your brainies, you nerds out there on the internet, we'll show you. And then they'll just cast, like, really awesome, likable, brawny people so that, Jeff can finally get the season he wanted. But on the other hand, if we're just, like, going on stereotypes, which basically all we can, and basically the show is encouraging us to do so in a much more socially acceptable way than they did in Cook Islands. Yeah, I mean, beautiful people click up. They just do. It's just easy. Once they kind of get within that clique, I get that there's, like, really Machiavellian social structures within it. But from the outside world, there wasn't a lot of pretty people that didn't sit at the same table at high school, right?
I know. I mean, look around at the people that sat with us at that table.
Exactly. I was like, of course you're here. Why else would you? And then, brawny people are used to just kind of bearing down and getting it done. And obviously there's some egotism at play and showing you that I'm, the stronger guy. But yeah, a lot of times, the strategic people, the brainy people, we might not be as socially comfortable as others.
Right. So, and this is where this tribe is going to fall apart. I do not have a lot of confidence in their ability to navigate social situations, with two exceptions from this tribe, and we'll get to those. But this tribe is going to be a disaster.
Yeah, unless they just keep winning in spite of themselves, like that tribe in Philippines with Pete Bro and RC and all that. Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of them in the early goings, because everybody's going to be talking strategy and everybody's going to be trying to maneuver, when really you should be trying to build a shelter and build relationships. And it's like one thing that we go over and over all the time, in the comic boards and all this, and I believe MRAD Fink is a big proponent of this, is that you don't play a pre-merge game or post-merge game in the pre-merge situation, and they're going to be doing it like in the first 30 seconds. And it'll be kind of interesting, but it'll also probably be very annoying.
It will, and like I said, I do have confidence in, mostly I have confidence in one player from this group, and maybe in a second, but other than that, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really, really bad.
Yeah, unless, they're all talk and they're just like anybody else, they'll get behind an alpha and then fall in line. That was my impression for many of the videos, and of course it was yours as well, because it's true.
Right. So let's just go ahead and start talking about these individual players. I think the way we'll do this, we actually, I shouldn't say we, because it's not me.
Well, you are the commissioner.
I am the commissioner of the Survivor Fantasy League that we run. It's actually at the AV Club. So we're going to say some people's names that picked the players. Don't pay attention if you're not an AV clubber. It doesn't really matter. It's just going to be our way of getting to discussing the players that they picked. And
you can pay attention in the sense of like, wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. I should do something like that. And if you're interested in that, come on over to the AV Club and try to join up. You can't join the game we're going to be discussing, but you can join a secondary game that will help you get into this game in the future and play against me, because I will always be a participant in this game.
Sure. I should point out that I came up with the idea for the game, and the very first season that we did it, I came in 7th out of 10, and I have never made it back into the league. Go me.
All right. So how it basically works is we set it up so that there's 2 players per every team. So however many Survivor players there are in the season, that dictates how many people are in the game. This year there's 18, so there's 9 of us, and you pick 1 through 9 and 9 through 1. With draft slots just being randomized. And so we had some Ms. Wuza. Oh, by the way, because it's the internet, there's going to be a lot of silly names. Ms. Wuza had the first pick overall, and she went with Garrett from the Brains tribe. Reaction.
On just first appearance, you see Garrett, and you're like, oh, wow, that guy's in really good shape. And then you're like, oh, he's a professional poker player. Maybe he's really good at, reading social signals or people's tells or something like that. I predict disaster. I think he'll do fine physically. I have no doubts on that. I think, though, I did a little bit more reading up on him. He's an internet poker player. And we all know that people on the internet have no idea how to interact with other human beings.
We know this firsthand.
I've heard, at least.
You're the friendliest guy on the internet, so...
I certainly am.
I think you just
I'm
go
just
there
here to make friends. Gotcha. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in Garrett. He was the one at first glance that I was like, ooh, yeah, maybe that guy. And then I just started doing some research. I watched his video where he seemed to live up to that social awkwardness that we discussed. Not all aboard the Garrett bandwagon. What about you?
He just radiates D-bag vibes, just more so than anybody else on this season. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it would be, prevent success. Like, I don't have a huge problem with him, number one. If I had the number one pick, I wouldn't have taken him, but, like, I can squint and see it. Like, I think he has a good chance of surviving all of the machinations of his tribe early on, because they're going to need somebody to help them win some challenges, as long as they, remember that. But I just don't see how a guy who's made such a creepy or impression just right away could get people to vote to give him $1 million.
Agreed. And actually, you didn't have the first pick, but you did have the second pick, and you took Sarah from the Braun tribe.
Yes. So, I mean, we've kind of already hit on it. I was kind of looking through. I think the Braun tribe will unite fairly easily at the beginning, and because I think the Brains tribe will be a bit of a tire fire, I had to kind of look the other way. I didn't think the Beauty tribe would be able to get it done. I think, they'll enjoy hanging out with each other, but I think they're going to lose. So I was looking at the Braun, and I just love the fact that she has another cop there. And in her pregame interviews, she's already pegged him as a cop. Now, kind of take a few looks at Tony and probably maybe listen to him talk a bit. It might not be, that, impressive, a deductive leap for her to have made. But still, she's already, thinking. And this is about aligning with him, and I think they will. And normally I would stay away from a cop. I'd stay away from, military people. There's not been any that have been remotely successful in this game. Like, the best you can kind of think of would be, maybe Mike in Redemption Island?
I was actually thinking Terry Dietz.
What was Terry Dietz, actually?
He was a Navy, I think. Navy pilot or something.
But, he was just really good at winning challenges. He wasn't...
Exactly. He wasn't a social savant, yeah.
But I think by having another cop there, that kind of helps reduce that risk. Usually the risk is basically, they're used to more rigid social structures, and again, I'm just stereotyping here. But they're used to, they literally have ranks and a whole hierarchy that's really easy to follow within their jobs. And then so when they get into a show like this and they have to deal with, the morons that end up being on Survivor, they usually just can't handle it. They can't understand why people aren't prioritizing things properly, so they do poorly socially. But they're going to be on a Bronze tribe, and they're going to be together, and wow, both of us are pluralizing Braun with an S. That's going to be a season-long problem.
And I can't even edit that out.
So I think that'll negate that, and I don't see any way that you would target a person like her first, right?
She's definitely not gone first. So at the very least, you're avoiding a first boot.
Yeah, so then I think her and Tony can kind of shape that tribe. I think the tribe will do well. And she seemed pretty smart. She seemed like she was observant of people. And she's from the Midwest, so maybe she's humble enough to kind of get along with people without throwing her ego out there. I'm also kind of hoping she uses Tony as her shield. So I like the pick. Not only was it my pick for the draft, but she is also obviously my pick to win. Because if I had a lot to choose from at this point, I wasn't going to pick Garrett. And she's the person I'm cheering for totally selfish reasons. So that's me. What do you think?
Again, I can't argue too much because there's two cops on the season. They happen to be in the same tribe. It already touched on that. Of the two cops, she's the best pick. I don't know that I can see her winning. I mean, I still have, like you said, there's just a history of cops and military types not succeeding on this show. And until that trend is broken, it's hard to bank on one of them winning. So I don't see her winning. I do think, though, that she's at least going to make the merge. We'll get to who I'm rooting for later, and then also who I think will win, because they're two different people, as they have been for the past two seasons.
Yeah, and I guess just if you wanted to extend it out, like people with kind of an honor code and like, you know, ranked systems, there was a firefighter who won this game. So if if the two kind of are a little more related than we thought, then, you know, there is a precedent there. But just from her personality type, I think the president is more of like a Denise, or, yeah, this is probably, you know, pie in the sky hoping, but Kim. Like, if you would have saw their early on interviews and all that, they probably weren't super dynamic either. Like, I think that there's a type there that I'm hoping she falls under that have proven successful.
Denise is the one you should be rooting for.
Yeah.
If she can turn out to be a Denise, then you're in good shape. Not only because Denise won, but that's same sort of strategy she would probably have to employ. Mm-hmm. Just be the one who's letting other people make the moves, but she's still in control. She's a likable person. Yeah, if Tony is her shield and she somehow drags him to the end, then she stands a chance.
Mm-hmm. All right, who's next on our list?
Violina 23. Again, this is the internet. There's weird names. So she picks Wu with her pick. I don't have a ton to say about him. He compares himself to Ozzy. That seems like a reasonable comp. I didn't like Ozzy, so I'm not a fan of Wu already. I think he'll do fine in challenges. I don't expect that he'll be a social superstar. What do you think?
He seems nice. He seems like a good dude. He's a type that we haven't seen a whole ton of. Maybe that's just because he's Asian, but, you know, I'm glad Survivor went that way. I'm glad also they were able to stretch their, you know, perception of, brawn. You know, he's not a super muscle-bound dude, but he probably, you know, works out more than anybody. But yeah, he lost me at Aussie too. And not even like, you know, he might not be the D-bag that Aussie is or anything like that, but people that aspire to be Aussies in this game typically don't quite understand what success looks like in Survivor.
Yeah, we should actually touch on that for a second. I've noticed, and this is how I determine who's an actual fan of the show. When you look at their profiles, most of them will ask the question, you know, which Survivor are you most like? And a good 70% of them are going to say either Boston Rob, Parvati, or Russell Hantz. And those are the people you can tell are not huge fans of the show, unless they offer some big substantive reason why they are one of those people. Usually those are the people that maybe watched a season of Survivor. Occasionally Richard Hatch gets thrown in there, and people will say him.
Yeah, that's an even bigger red light. Oh, so you watched it when 40 million people were watching and haven't watched since. Got it.
That's another one, though, that if they give a good reason, you know, if they say, you know, he laid out strategy, blah, 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 then maybe. So there's a caveat with that one. But generally, if it's one of those three players that they say they're modeling their game after, I'm like, ugh, no, you're not a fan of this show, which doesn't necessarily prevent someone from winning, as we've seen before, but...
Yeah, I'd say those are the three, and then probably the next year is like Ozzy, Hatch, and Amanda. Like, any of those names I see there, I often just keep looking. Unless, like you say, they follow it up with something that's a little bit more than, oh, I like Parvati because she's a triple threat, and she proved that you can be beauty yet still play this game viciously. And it's like, whatever, pretty girl.
Right. If you make a deep poll like Danny Boatwright, which someone actually did, and I totally can't remember who it was.
I know who it is, and I still think she's the first boot, but continue.
Yeah, I actually think I know who it is, but we'll get to her in a minute. That at least impresses me. It shows me that you're a fan of the show.
Yeah.
So anyway, not much more to add about Wu. You have anything?
No, I think there's a good chance that he will be perfectly fine, and we won't really see much of him at all, except maybe in challenges.
I do have some things to say about the next person on the list, though.
All right.
The next draftee was Sheldor Stinson, who actually has appeared on this podcast and probably will again sometime very soon. He took Jatia, and I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. I am Team Jatia this season. I don't think she wins. I'm rooting for her, which I should point out is the exact case from the last two seasons. I said that exact same thing about Tyson and Cochran, and in both cases, I was rooting for them, expecting them not to win, and then they won. So, there you go. Bet your money in Vegas right now. Jatia wins this season.
You're just so easy. She just wears one little t-shirt and you're like, yes, I'm in.
She does wear an I Love Nerds t-shirt. That is not the only reason I'm on board Team Jatia. She's an attractive lady.
Former model.
She is a former model. She's a smart lady.
PhD.
She does not... she has actually PhD in her Twitter name. She does not seem like the ivory tower, I have to be the smartest in the room type. She seems a lot more socially capable. Like, I can see her being able to work a room a little bit better than pretty much the rest of that Brains tribe.
Yeah, like, she's one of the types that immediately look, and she could have been in multiple tribes. Like, obviously, she could have been in a beauty. There's no problem with her being in Brains. I think she'll be somebody that will work with whoever kind of comes up on top, if anybody does in the Brains situation. So, yeah, I like her fine. I just think she's got to be pretty awesome because they're going to go into a swap situation down numbers.
She is.
I think that whole thing just has disaster written all over it. But yeah,
that is true. But we do have recent examples of
yes.
a disastrous early tribe turning out okay later on.
Oh yeah, so it certainly could work out. Yeah, I was fairly impressed by what I saw of her, and also just impressed by Survivor. And it's like, I hope you just found her, because why have you been keeping somebody like this off the show? Because we haven't really seen a type like her.
No, typically, like I said earlier, Survivor tends to, let's say, cast to certain stereotypes that are very unfortunate. And this season they are not. And, credit where it's due. They have a nice, diverse mixture. And it's not even just the diversity of the cast. It's the types of people that they've picked.
Yeah, at least for now. I mean, as we watch, we might all of a sudden, just find the archetypes. And maybe they won't be, racially obvious or something like that, as they have been in the past, but it might be like, okay, that's that guy, and that's that type, and this person's that type, so.
Right.
And some of that could just be the edit likes to force characters into archetypes.
That's true. They do try to make a one-dimensional edit for as many people as they can, especially the early boots, because who cares? You're never going to see those people again.
I'm never objecting to an early boot not getting their favorite edit. It's like, you didn't matter, so that's why. Get off my show so I can follow the people that do.
All right. So as I said, I am leading the bandwagon for Team Jatia. So if you guys want to hop on board, go ahead. Andy, are you on board with me?
No, I'm Team Sarah all the way. So there you go, everyone. You now know what the season's going to deteriorate into for the Purple Rock. But they're not working in opposition just yet. So we should be fine for a little bit.
Yeah. Well. We'll see how it shakes out at the merge. Maybe they end up teaming up, and it'll be awkward and disappointing when we can't trash talk to each other.
Although, we should note that there probably will be a swap or some kind of, absorption before there's a merge, because there are 3 tribes now, but it will become 2.
Yeah, I'm banking on episode 4? What do you think?
Oh, let's go 5. What's 5? 5, I think, is what it looked like in Philippines. I think they basically cut those down to 2 people, right? Oh, so that was episode 5. Woohoo!
Yeah. All right. Well, episode 4, 5, maybe even 6, depending on how many people are still left.
Yeah, it'll be depend on how the eliminations work.
Basically, these tribes are not sticking around forever, so prepare yourselves if you're new to this show. Although, if you're new to this show, why are you listening to our podcast?
Welcome. Maybe, actually, on that note, I know at least one person who this podcast converted into a fan.
Awesome.
All right, so next in the draft and for discussion, Something Quirky, who has also appeared on this podcast before, selected LJ from the Beauty Tribe. I'll say right now, LJ was my other pick. I had a list of 2 because I was going to, and I was deciding between Sarah and LJ. I think he, for one, only barely qualifies as a beauty, but he looks like a strong guy and athletic. Maybe I'm just so easily won over by the idea that he worked on doing puzzles and stuff.
So you're saying on a 1 to 10 scale on his beauty, you're calling him a 6?
Yeah, I'll give him a 7. At least he's got a build. He looks like he's hit a gym. Good for him. But he looks like a kind of a down to earth kind of dude, and that will probably be useful in a tribe full of perhaps divas.
I don't have such a negative opinion of the Beauty Tribe, believe it or not. I will say, though, that I actually have to concur. LJ was my pick to win this thing. I don't think Jatia wins. I'm going to root for her, but I don't think she wins. I think LJ does. And sort of for the season, or for the reasons that you mentioned, he's kind of a jack of all trades type. Like, I can see him being able to get far in the game and not offend anybody, and maybe he's got some strategy to him, but it might not even matter. I mean, JT didn't necessarily dominate via strategy, but he won the game.
Yep.
So I can kind of see a, minor league version of JT in LJ.
And not just because they go by two initials. Hey, speaking of JT, do you just see his name every time you look at Jatia?
No, but now I will.
And I think both, when I was deciding between LJ and Sarah, one of the reasons why I went with them is that I see the least wrong with them. A lot of these, and not so much the people that we've talked about so far, but especially the people we're going to be talking about after this, just flaws, just leap off the page. And it's just nope, that person, no, that person, no. And there's really no reason for me to believe that LJ couldn't, other than maybe he seems obvious.
Yeah, and maybe that's why he gets a boot, is that people see that he's likable and inoffensive, and maybe he's not strong enough in his alliance, and he does get booted. But I don't know, he just, to me, seems like a winner type.
Yeah.
Gonna root for Jatia to overthrow him, but he has a winner vibe to him.
All right. So next is Guy Caballero, who picked Cliff. And now I'm going to look over at the cast list because I can't remember who Cliff is. Oh, Cliff! Sorry.
I was going to say, how do you not remember who Cliff is? Oh,
Cliffy!
You would be terrible in this season. Uncle Cliffy. Uncle Cliffy, famous for his headbands that he used to wear when he played in the NBA. You and I are both big basketball fans, so we'll go ahead.
I probably have at least 3 or 4 Cliff Robinson basketball cards in my garage right now.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead and alienate a bunch of non-NBA fans here because we're huge NBA fans. We're going to make a bunch of NBA references this season because Uncle Cliffy's on. So I think personality-wise, at least what he's known for and what I've seen in interviews and from what little I remember of his basketball game, he's a really personable guy that people get along with. So I have a hard time seeing him getting booted early, especially when people are thinking that they're going to need physical strength. He's a huge guy. I really hope they have a challenge early on that's, hey, reach this thing that's up high.
Well, I hope they do the basketball and water type thing, where it's
yeah.
throw coconuts into the net. I just want to see him dominate.
That would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, basically the only way that he goes early is if he's one of those types, because this has happened with bigger, stronger dudes that just cannot handle the deprivation. And he becomes a drain. But even then, people give those guys a lot of sway. Oh no, he'll come around and he'll help us win. Even if they're, just sitting around sucking. So,
look how far Shamar got. And, I mean, not like he got so far in the game, but they didn't.
He got farther than he ever should have been.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah, so that's basically the only way I see him going early, and I think the likelihood is small. So, he will be around for a while, and that's awesome, but he's not winning.
No, he's not going to win. I do kind of think he makes the merge. I don't know how much further than the merge he makes it, but I can see him being that, maybe second or third after the merge boot.
Yeah, no, once the merge happens, unless he's in dominant numbers-wise, he's the target from the other side, and the rest of his tribe will just hide behind him because it would be easy to do so.
Size joke, Sandy. Good job.
Thank you. But, we're talking about, at this point, the 6th pick, so that's kind of fine. Certainly he could win some immunities. I'm not sure, though. We'll have to see. He'll help his tribe win some, but I don't know if there's anything from his playing days past that suggests that he would be, Survivor Challenge dominant. I doubt they'll have a lot of block shots and rebounds type competitions.
I was thinking they were going to have a rebounding drill.
Although, he's not just tall. Until Dirk Nowitzki came along, he had the most three-pointers by a guy that big. So he's got some touch to him as well.
like I said, let's alienate some people with NBA references.
That'll help with the puzzles.
Sure.
But aren't you psyched that they're reaching into the pseudo-famous has-beens of basketball? Like, we've done football. It's been done. Half of them I'd never even heard of, and I'm a sports fan. Basketball, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm way on board. I mean, the Jeff Kent thing didn't do it for me because I wasn't a big baseball fan. But love basketball.
He was a good part of the show, right? Like, he was good.
Yeah, he was fairly decent on the show. I mean, I was expecting to be like, ugh, Jeff Kent. And he wasn't bad. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want him back, but he wasn't bad. Yeah. I would much rather have an Uncle Cliffy, though, than a Brad Culpepper.
My hope is that Cliff Robinson does well enough on the show and kind of makes himself look good enough that, we get Allen Iverson coming on here or something.
Oh, that would be a flaming dumpster right there. That would be terrible.
Well, I know. And then they have the very first, Survivor Bowling Challenge, and oh no, we just got to...
Oh, I'm going to root for the first time that someone suggests they practice before a challenge.
It's Allen Iverson, bowling alley, and practice jokes.
Yeah. Again, we're alienating a good 3/4 of our audience.
But the people who get it are just doubling over at this point.
Yes, they are. All right, let's move on to the next pick before we go too far off the rails. Next on the list was The Way. He picked Tasha. What do you think of this one?
Tasha's one of those on the Brains Tribe whose video was all like, I'm used to getting my way, and I'm going to manipulate the situation, and I can't wait to play. And I think she's going to be one of the reasons why that tribe does not do well. There's
a lot of reasons that tribe won't do well. But here's one reason that I'm not on board with Tasha. She's an accountant. And when have you ever met a fun accountant, Andy?
I think it's basically impossible.
Exactly.
I couldn't imagine talking to one every week.
I am not an accountant.
Yeah, it's all the same to me.
Just because I deal with money does not make me an accountant.
Whatever, nerd.
Financial nerd. So anyway, accountants are the worst. Tasha, you're not going to make it far. Hopefully Jatia manages to use you and push her own game forward. I don't have a lot of faith in Tasha.
I think Tasha is highly likely to be the first person off her trot. She's not my pick. We'll get into picks of who the first boots will be for this episode. But I could see it being her. I could see her getting a vote or two.
I don't think it is her, though. I have a thought on who it will be.
Yeah, I imagine it's the same thought as I have, and we'll probably get to it in just a couple minutes here.
Yes, we will. All right, but the next pick was our reigning champion in our
two-time champion.
Two-time reigning champion, Adam B. He took David, and...
The reign is over.
No, I'm going to disagree with you. I watched David's video. I really like David a lot. David was right up with LJ and Jatia for me as people that I could see winning.
All right. Finally, a disagreement here.
Yeah, he's a big fan of the show. He says he's been watching since season 1. He talks about all, stuff that he does. Plus, he's really high up in a professional sports organization. You don't get there by being unable to handle social situations.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll just tell you that the Survivor contestant he's most like is Boston Rob. So he's obviously a big fan of the show. But no, I mean, he was willing to leave his career on hold in the middle of the summer to be on Survivor, so I don't think it's just a whim. I just kind of worry that he's used to being the boss. And that's not a good trait for Survivor unless you're, I guess, a really good boss.
I'm going to go another way. I think he's used to being a manager, and as a manager, if you can manage personalities and, people's abilities and skills, you can go far in this game.
I'll say a couple things to that because you know nothing about baseball. He's been managing the Marlins, so they are not good.
You don't know how bad their front office is, though.
Well, I prescribe to the theory that success is top-down in professional sports. But I will say this in David's favor. If he could convince the city of Miami to buy them a brand new spanking baseball park when most of their citizenry seems apathetic to the sport, and get them to pay for it instead of, schools and stuff, maybe he could convince anybody to vote his way in Survivor.
This is what I'm saying. That's part of my reasoning for picking him. Miami, trust me, I live in South Florida. There is not a lot of Marlins fans around here. So the fact that we got taxpayers to spend upwards of $300 million on a stadium, thanks to an effort that he was part of. Bravo, sir, for convincing people of such a terrible idea. Maybe you can do the same thing in this game.
God, you Americans and your messed up priorities. Hence another discussion of geopolitics with Andy and John.
Oh man, that is going to be our show, our podcast after Survivor ends.
All right, let's talk about the person that I think we've been dancing around for a bit here. The next pick in the draft for the Cage, who has now back-to-back picks. And he went with Spencer of the Brain Tribe. So, Spencer, he's going to win it all, right?
Hoo boy. Spencer is the tire fire of this season. I mentioned earlier that I'm taking one for the team and following these people on Twitter. I already cannot stand Spencer. I cannot stand another member of his tribe that we'll get to shortly. And they are feuding on Twitter, and it's obnoxious. And I think it's actually also contrived. I don't even know that they actually dislike each other in this season, but I know that I already dislike both of them. He's feuding with Cass, by the way, because I'll have to spoil that since we're getting to this shortly.
Yeah, I was trying to do the math there. I think there's probably only one more brain left. Man, I'm a little bummed out about this because clearly Spencer is cast to be like our avatar. He's the, young Survivor internet nerd probably type. Like, I'm guessing he's probably watched a lot, and I can't stand him. And I don't know if it's because the show has a low opinion of us, so thus they gave us Spencer, or if he's holding an ugly mirror up to me and I have some soul searching to do.
Yeah, maybe we're the worst.
We might be.
And he's just like us.
God, if Spencer is us on this show, then that's a good thing they won't let me participate. But yeah, no, just watching his video, like, you kind of, some of the things he says, and maybe some of the things he writes, you're kind of like, yeah, those are things I've thought before. But then you hear him say it, and with this completely unearned sneer and smirk, and you're just like, shut up, dude.
Yeah, he's going to be a very early boot.
Yeah, so if it's not Tasha first, it's him. And I think, for me, it just depends on how early they go to Tribal Council.
Which I think will be fairly early.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see a lot of, if there's any physical elements to the challenges. You've got Garrett on that tribe. You've got Jatia that should do fairly well with the physical
Tasha
stuff.
too. She's a former cheerleader, Tasha.
Yeah, maybe. But I just see Spencer and Cass as being huge lead weights when it comes to challenges. And then once they get to the puzzle stage, they're not even going to be a huge benefit there because they're just going to be arguing the whole time because that's what smart people do. They hate being not the smartest person around.
And at that point, it's a total mirror. And I see that in myself. And
yeah, this is why you and I argue all the time.
This is why you pick obscure people in fan casting. So yeah, no, and I think that very likely, I've written that already, that just because it's a brainy type part of the challenge, oftentimes it's just about one person taking the lead and other people assisting that person, and I just don't see this tribe getting down and doing that. All right, so his next pick, I'm going to assume, who knows, his or her, it was Lindsay, who is a person on this show. Lindsay Ogle on the Brawn Tribe.
I was just looking her up again to remind me. It's one of those things where Lindsay on paper has some qualities that make you think, she might do well, because she's a hairstylist and a bartender, and if you know one thing about those people, they are very good at talking. They're like masters of social reading. Well, maybe not hairstylists.
I will say that when I go to get my haircut, I'm just like, please just shut up.
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe not hairstylists, but bartenders at least tend to be.
Well, no,
good.
but then when my wife does, that's all it is. So it just kind of just shows that we are the trollish, brainy type people who would do terrible in a tribe of ourselves.
Shout out to Caesar who cuts my hair. He shuts up. Anyway, she has that going for her, but then I watch her video and I'm like, I don't see it working. And again, I think of her tribe, and I see the two cops aligning. I kind of think the cops pick up Uncle Cliffy.
Yep.
And then from there, I don't know if she sticks around. I mean, I think they keep Wu or someone like that just for their physical ability.
Yep.
And she's odd woman out.
Yeah, no, I think she's very likely to be the first person booted out. She gives off that kind of free spirit vibe, and that person's never done well on Survivor. And maybe I'm just stereotyping based on her hair, but of course I'm just stereotyping. All I have, is 30 seconds of footage of these people to base these decisions on.
Yeah, so if you are one of these people and you're listening to us talk about you, keep in mind we have absolutely nothing to base these opinions off of, so we're just going off of what little we have.
Yeah, what the show is trying to cast you as, and what the show has been in the past. So, yeah, no, I don't feel good about Lindsay. She might, ingratiate herself. She is of the same age of the majority of her tribe, so that could be something that would help. But I don't see her winning. We've never seen a Lindsay type win, have we?
No, and actually, I was just going to say that the tattooed types don't tend to make it very far. Shout out to Courtney, who has blocked us on Twitter. Courtney Moon, not Courtney Yates, who has not yet blocked us on Twitter, but I'm working on that.
Because she doesn't know who we are.
That's right, I'm working on it. Speaking of possible early boots, next in line was Adam B. picking again, and he took Cass. What's your opinion on Cass?
I want to like her. I do. I don't feel good about her chances, especially where she ended up. But she seems kind of cool. I like her whole vibe about I pretend to be weak in court, or I dress kind of frumpy, and then I own people afterwards. It kind of seems like, a fun character that would be on The Good Wife or something.
I don't watch that show, so I'll take your word for it. But here's my problem. In that same interview, she says, I'm not going to tell people I'm a lawyer. I'm going to say I'm an animal handler, which I hope to God she has the chance to do that before they announce that it's Brains tribe that she's on. Because then they'll say, animal handler? On the Brains tribe? Really? And they'll know she's lying, and she'll be doomed.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that was her strategy going in, and that'll be totally blown up. Kind of in the same way that, He Who Shall Not Be Named's plan in One World was to glom onto the girls, and then he was like, I want to try with dudes. So here's hoping for that. But, I liked her. I liked what I saw in her video. I was hoping she could be, another Denise type, but I also think there's a high likelihood that she's the first person voted out.
So here's my thoughts on how she'll do. She has two possible outcomes. I think there's either she goes home really early, or she pulls a Sandra, because that's basically, she almost said it as her strategy. I mean, she's going to be the unassuming one who's just there to get along with you and not put herself ahead of anybody else. But I don't know that she can pull it off. I think Sandra can, because she's a little more charming and fun. I don't see it in Cass from what, 30 seconds of video I got to see of her. Sandra, from the first clip of Pearl Islands, I was like, I want to hang out with Sandra. She seems cool. Cass,
Well, let's be real. Cass is our mom from a few years ago, so how much do we want to hang out with her, right?
Exactly. I don't want to hang out with my mom. Sorry, Mom.
Love you, Ma. You don't know what a podcast is, so I'm not too worried about that.
I'm totally safe in saying that.
No, I mean, I liked her whole shtick about pretending to be one thing and, listening and getting people to underestimate her. Problem is, when you're the 41-year-old woman in a tribe of younger people, you don't get to let people underestimate you. They already are. You need to kind of do the opposite and give them a reason not to vote you out first. And if she can survive that initial wave, and I totally see ways that could, because personality clashes might keep her there, then I think she could do well. But it kind of also just strikes she'd be one that would do much better in more traditional 10 versus 10 type season without these kind of gimmicky divisions or tribes of 6. I think in a tribe of 6, unless she's sneakily athletic, she just might be too much of a albatross in challenges.
Yeah, I think her best path to making the merge is aligning with David early on, because I mean, he's the other old guy in the tribe, and if somehow they can be the mature heads in that tribe, and again, I'm hoping Jatia is one of those as well, then they might do okay, but I don't have a good feeling about Cass.
Yeah, absolutely. If that's the personality that the tribe ends up taking, well, let's be real. We think Garrett and Spencer are just going to battle it out, right?
Oh, yeah. Almost immediately.
Yeah, and that I'd say in that scenario, I imagine Garrett comes up on top because they're not going to want to sacrifice the abs that they need in challenges. So, yeah, that's kind of like David, Cass, and Jatia just kind of step back and like look at these knuckleheads. They bring in Garrett because they need a horse, and that's how she can do well.
They need the abs for the cheese grater challenge or the wash clothes challenge. Is that what it is?
Clearly I don't know what abs are good for.
Okay, so next in line, The Way took Trish, who I almost had to look up, but then I remembered, oh, right, she's the last one from the Braun tribe.
Yeah, so I've been dancing around. This person could be the last person, or first person voted out. This person could be the first person voted out. If I had to pick just one person, my very initial reaction to probably the first 20 seconds of Trish's video is, oh, so she's the first boot.
Yeah, she does not seem like the type that'll make it very far. I looked at her, bio, and I was like, oh, maybe she'll do well. Saw her video and went, nope, not her.
Yeah, she's just, and she's the one that picked Danny Boatwright, it's a deep pull. Reading more of it, she actually, it seems like she's been a big fan, she's been trying to get on the show, but she's just this new agey type, she's the Pilates instructor, in her video, she's doing the stretches, but she's talking about all this stuff about experiences and all this. That person usually gets voted out early, the quirky old person that just loves the spirit and vibe of Survivor, and people just be like, you know what, I just want to keep my head down, think about who I'm going to vote out, and I don't need your perkiness right now because I'm starving.
You know who immediately jumped to mind with the new AG BS? I don't even remember what season he's from now, but Peter, who started the season off totally alienating everyone in his tribe by talking about his new AG stuff, and was the very first boot, and I can see that exact same thing happening to Trish.
Yeah, it's played out a few times, and I gotta be honest with you, I actually don't know who this Peter person is of you speak, but I believe like a Sonia was like this way back in, I want to say Australia. Like there's been types like this, and they just annoy people.
Yeah, Peter's theory was all related to how everybody has holes. I almost want to look it up right now, but I'm not going to. He was terrible.
Yeah, Lil getting voted out right away and then coming back. Like, let's not damn Trish too hard. She's not Lil.
No.
But it's just like she gave me that vibe of the person that just thinks of this as some kind of spiritual journey and it's going to try and get people on board, and they're just going to be like, no, we're just going to vote yes so we can do our thing. Like, I don't know if the two no-nonsense cops are going to be up for that. Yeah, and she's already also the 48-year-old woman in a tribe of brawny types, so it'd be easy even for that. But I just think it just kind of shows, because I do not doubt for a second her fan bona fides, but there's just so many ways of being a fan of this show, and there's still people who think of it as some kind of island adventure, when all of that stuff barely matters.
Yeah, and personal growth and blah, blah, blah. That's just stuff that you say at Final Tribal to get someone's vote.
Yeah.
Rather than I cast you aside because it was for my personal benefit.
Yeah, like the closest, and maybe this is why she picks Danny as a comp, That's as close maybe as a person like that could have gone. Danny was somebody who got along socially, was willing to vote people off, was able to, trick Rafe into agreeing to let himself be voted off. But, and then she got there and talked about Journey and all that stuff. Maybe Fabio, but, Fabio is the exception that proves every rule in this game. But other than that, no. I think the only way that she's not the first person voted out of this season is if they don't go to Tribal Council.
Yeah, I can see that. But you know what? Let's skip to the next person because we've been waiting to discuss this one.
Oh.
The next pick, Guy Cavallero, takes Morgan, who he actually didn't draft by saying Morgan, but I knew immediately who he meant with the word that he used to draft her.
I gotta say, I don't think he'll do well, but Guy's got my favorite team.
He really does. I mean, I am looking forward to seeing both Uncle Cliff and Morgan this season. I'm looking forward to
them more than anyone else. And, and people watched her video and said oh, she said the stupid thing about being beautiful is better, or did you read that? And I didn't listen to her talk.
Yeah, I could tell she was saying words. Yeah, so we actually mentioned in our fan casting thing that there was someone from this season that we were thinking to put in our own fan cast version of Brain Bronze Beauty. This is her. Morgan was going to end up on our beauty tribe that we're going to make.
Yeah. So, like, we've seen, how long are the intro videos? Like 2 minutes?
Yeah,
2.5
2 minutes, if that. They're pretty short.
Yeah, so we're saying 2 minutes of her plus some photos and some Instagram photos, which I highly recommend. All of you guys, if you want to just kind of navigate over there right now, she might be the hottest girl that's ever been on this show.
It would be hard to dispute that. Phrasing.
Hard being the operative term. All that said, they're going to take it away from us.
Yeah,
this is why we can't have nice things.
She is not going far in this game.
Oh, and it's gonna be heartbreaking. It really, really, truly is. Unless, she gets ugly really quick. But
at best, we can hope that she makes the merge, and we'll just get to see her on the jury every week. That would be the ceiling for her performance here.
And that's all we need. I mean, look, she could absolutely surprise us and be some kind of cunning Parvati type player, but that's not going to happen.
No,
and it's not important. One thing I'd say is maybe it'd be better for the health of this podcast that she goes early, because I don't even know how much I'm going to be focusing on the goings on when she's on screen.
Yeah, and again, we're lucky that we're not listed as the clean podcast anymore, because I have a feeling we're going to slip into some inappropriate comments about Morgan later in this season.
And, I'm trying not to be gross. I usually am not. I'm usually, very analytical with my analysis. I've been pro-female. I seem to always pick them to win, because I'm just waiting for it to happen. Everybody seems to look at the buff dudes, and that's what they want. I am not going to be all of that evolved when discussing Morgan in a way that I'm not sure and many other survivors have ever done that to me. Maybe Angie from Philippines. In that sense, I was almost embarrassed. I was like, it seems too easy. She's so obvious. But obviously there was something that just worked on a chemical level. But Morgan, just works on the lizard part of my brain in ways that, whatever. I'm a full-blooded male, and I'm not embarrassed by that.
Morgan is going to definitely inspire some stuff that we'll have to talk about not on the podcast.
But yeah, bravo, Survivor. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Thank you for this. If this is the only reason why you went 27 years, I'm glad you did. Next
pick was something quirky. She took Jeremiah. He seems all right. I don't see him going super far, though.
That said, I'm shocked that he went this low. Just for challenge points, you think it would be worth having? Yeah,
I mean, of the people left, he's up there. I mean, I don't know. Some of these later picks, I'm actually not all that against. I would have taken him over Trish, over Cass, over Spencer, over Lindsay. So, I mean, he's not a terrible pick. He's not going to win. Although he does have a vague JT ring to him, too, but...
Yeah, absolutely. Even he has an accent, right? And he seems like a nice guy. So even maybe more so than LJ in that respect.
Yeah, I just don't see it in him, though.
Yeah, I think there's also a high likelihood that he's just the guy that everybody likes, and they talk about him being dangerous from a social perspective, but basically gets no interview time, and we'll be like, who? Is he on the show still?
Yeah, like an Invisibred or a Cowboy Rick.
Exactly, or other people who we can't think of right now because
they were totally invisible.
On the show.
Right.
Dude from Philippines.
Yeah, that guy.
Notes. That guy. There was this sauce.
Oh, Carter, we miss you.
All right.
Next pick.
Pretty girl number 2 is Alexis.
Yeah.
Any other season, we'd be talking almost as gross about Alexis as we are about Morgan. But
we would, because males in our audience, Alexis has a booty shake video in the season preview. Highly recommend it. Let's move on, Andy.
Yeah, whatever. I'm hoping that she becomes the fodder instead of Morgan.
Yeah, sure. If she goes... oh, man. Gotta watch my phrasing. If she happens to go home before Morgan, more power to her.
And if not her, the next person on our list, Jeffra Bland, who here's hoping she doesn't live up to her last name.
I'm sure she hears that all the time. Poor girl.
I know. I'm mostly hoping that so I don't keep making that lame joke all season long.
Yeah. Jeffra actually doesn't seem all that terrible to me. It's just more of that tribe who's going to go far. I can maybe see her and LJ and Jeremiah teaming up. But just, the male in me hopes that it's Morgan that teams up in that group and makes it further.
Yeah, I mean, she seems a little more level-headed. She is the beauty queen, but, she says she doesn't want to be defined by that. So I kind of see, she'd be the one that would just kind of find herself an alliance and then just go along with it. Like a Chelsea type who paired up with Kim and then just did what Kim said. To the point where when she makes it to the final, she's just like, hey, you should vote for Kim. There's nothing that interests me about Jeffra. Other than, she's a pretty girl too. But she's no Morgan.
All these pretty girls, by the way, I think are 21 to 23. They're all in a very narrow age range.
Which is another reason to kind of just write them off. Emrat Fink pointed this out, although it was just, you kind of know it. Young pretty girls don't typically win this game. Jenna Maraska is kind of the exception. And other than that, I don't even know if any of them come particularly close.
I think there was one other one that he mentioned, and it's totally escaping me who that one was.
Well, Sophie is the youngest female winner of the show, but she wouldn't be the young pretty type, right? Danny was not as young as you think she was, so I think she was more in her late 20s.
Next we get to your final pick, and you went Team Cop on this one, and you took Tony. Why did you take Tony?
Because he wasn't Bryce?
There we go. That's the only reason to take Tony at this point, because he's not Bryce.
Well, I'll just say this about Tony. I was perfectly happy to take him. At that point, I'm all in, right? My whole thinking about picking Sarah is that her and Tony are going to team up. If that doesn't happen, I'm probably already screwed anyway. And if it does happen, maybe Tony goes all the way to the finals. I'm shocked that he went this low. I would have picked him over any of the 3 hot chicks we just talked about. Just for reward points alone.
Only for Survivor.
Yes, only. Well,
anyway, if you're on Team Cop, be all Team Cop, because they are going to align, and if one of them makes it far, the other probably is too. So
I handcuffed my pick.
You did. And that does leave our very last pick in the draft, deservedly so, I think. Bryce.
You watch him, and you don't want to just say, oh, he's Colton. You don't want to. You don't want to be like, oh...
Well, here's the thing. He said it.
Yeah, did he? Oh, is that in his...
He said, I'm Colton.
I haven't read his thing because I took his measure in his video. Oh, God. Yeah, he's Colton. Why would this show cast another Colton? They didn't do well with the Colton they had.
Wait, why, if your prototype was terrible, why would you bring in another one?
I mean, he's going to be on the show, and we keep thinking, first boot Bryce, we will not be that lucky.
No, he's not going to go home right away. I just have a feeling he makes it a few votes.
And he will be featured heavily in those episodes until he is voted out?
Oh, yeah. He's basically the, Philip Shepard type that's going to be on there, the gimmick character that...
The Brandon, the Colton.
Yes.
Their attempt at being a reality show that they're not. It's like, we got to get some of those viewers from that channel that I don't watch.
And I hope Bryce is going to prove us wrong. I don't think he will. But I just feel like Bryce is going to be very grating and go home very soon.
Well, he could, in his normal life, be a perfectly lovely person. He seems determined to play the role of exactly what we think he will be. That seems to be his objective.
Yeah, and that to me is just, I don't watch this show for the Jersey Shore, real world type stuff. So that has
Housewives
no appeal.
Of whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where he seems. And it seems like that's what he's aspiring to. And it's didn't we weed those people out of Survivor once it stopped being so popular? There are so many other reality shows you could be on. Be on that. And you know what? You're not even that pretty, dude.
Yeah, go be on The Bachelor. That would be an interesting twist.
That would be. Alright, so there we go. That's each contestant. And who we think will do well, who we don't think will do well. So you don't even really need to watch the season now.
Nope. I already told you Jatia is going to win this season, so you're welcome. And I hope with your winnings you support this podcast.
And I've already said it'll be Sarah, and since I seem to be much better at this sort of thing, it's just not even true. I've been able to get good value out of late round picks, so I'm really worried this season.
Yeah, because you had an early pick this time. So you cursed yourself by calling out
right.
our two-time winner for having early picks, and now you've got the early picks, so go ahead and blow it.
Alright, so what we do every week on the show is we predict who's going to go next. Obviously, a big determiner of how that's going to work is who wins immunity, and we have no idea of predicting how that'll go. So let's pick one from each tribe. Starting with who you definitely think of the first pick, and I've already gone on record. Most likely to leave first is Trish from the Braun tribe. What do you got?
I will actually go with Bryce from the Beauty tribe. I'm just hoping.
Okay, so those are who are most likely, but if the Braun tribe loses, who do you think goes?
It's Trish or Lindsay.
Alright, pick one.
I'll be contrarian and say Lindsay.
Alright, my pick for the Beauty tribe is also Bryce. Again, also especially if they lose first. Like, you could see a way where Bryce could ingratiate himself socially, much in the same way that Colton did, right? If that tribe would have lost the first episode, Colton would have been out of our lives quickly and to never return. But Courtney has to go and get herself hurt, and here we are.
Thanks again, Courtney.
Wow. She is getting so much run.
Oh, man. If Courtney has a Google alert, she is just...
blocking us again.
Yeah.
All right.
Second time.
And then, if the Brains tribe lose, which, we think is highly likely that they could, who goes home?
Spencer.
Yeah, I think if they lose right away, they get rid of Spencer. I think if they hang on a little longer, then they might go a different way. Maybe he's able to overcome his initial poor first impression.
Yeah, I don't think so. I see Spencer going very early from that tribe. If he's not the first to go, he's the second.
And maybe that's why he's working overtime on Twitter, because he knows his spotlight is almost over before it even begins.
Could be.
All right, so that's our podcast. If you've listened to us, it means that you have figured out that we've moved. If you typically listen to us on iTunes and couldn't this time, it's because you need to update your iTunes. We are no longer the Purple Rock Podcast on iTunes. We are the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. So just do another search for Purple Rock and subscribe to the other one. We've switched hosts. And
yeah, this will be the only time that we switch hosts, by the way. So just subscribe to that one. We won't change again.
Yes. There are many other ways you can keep up to date with what we're doing, so you can know when we have a new show, when we're arguing about things, when we're posting witty comments. The witty comments mostly come on Twitter, where you can follow us at Purple Rock Pod. The host of the podcast is on WordPress at purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com.
Sure, I think.
Tumblr, purplerockpodcast.tumblr.com. And we have a new Skype address.
We do. It's Purple Rock Podcast on Skype. So if you want to leave us a voicemail, we actually didn't get to one this week, but we will soon. If you want to do a voicemail for us, it's set up. Just give it a call. It'll almost immediately go to voicemail. Leave us a nice message, or an angry message even. That'd be fun too. And we'll probably play it on the show if we get bored.
And also, if you like the typing more than the speaking, you can leave us an email at purplerockpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, I think that's the only ways you can contact us.
I'm looking forward to this, but you know what? I am always looking forward to Survivor.
Likewise, and we've got, 2 weeks left at this point?
2 weeks. Can't wait. I need to get to know all these people and learn who to hate.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks of Olympics to keep us occupied until then. USA!
Canada!
Your country is so not good for chanting.
Yeah, we're just good for winning. Oh!
Hockey that no one watches.
Alright, so until a week after we actually get a new episode of Survivor, I'm Andy, he's John, and you've been listening to the Purple Rock Podcast.
Theme music.